Yeah, that really.
Would you all please stand and join us for the pledge of allegiance?
Would you shut your phone off?
What should I do, Jim? Should I do? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I don't know what it's called. I know that
Sure you do, bud.
that was a type that
Sure you do.
Fiona Reynolds was having, because she was reporting one way, that Iowa
Hang on
City,
just a
rather
second.
than use our
Turn his
hospital,
phone
we
down.
reported a different way.
I'd like to welcome all of you to the Moines County Board of Supervisors meeting this August 8th, 2023. Do we have any changes to the tentative agenda?
I have none.
I have none. Okay, next we have meet with department heads and elected officials. Rodney Bleasner, maintenance.
Good morning. It's been really busy. With all the rain we did have, as much as we got, we did get a little bit of water in a few places, but everything's getting cleaned up, dried up, back to normal. Other than that, have nothing new to report.
Okay, Colin Gerst, IT.
Good morning. Just getting back in the swing of things. I was on vacation last week and that was pretty nice, but apparently I gotta get back to work, so. Other than that, nothing really new to report.
All right, we got next, Ken Heinman, Phil Health, Southeast Iowa.
Yeah.
Whatever you call it now.
That's right, you only missed the agency part, so Mental Health Agency of Southeast Iowa,
And I'm getting close.
brand new name, yeah. We are having our meetings at the well in Fairfield tomorrow, so we'll do our monthly meetings and have a bunch of business there. They're still trying to fill the governing board for the agency, so talking about law enforcement director and maybe another few other positions to be filled, like consumer or family member, stuff like that, so all is going well so far, just a lot of changes. We don't know, a lot of the CDSs are changing responsibilities, so we're still not sure about all of our job duties yet, but we'll all be given different job descriptions and whatever works best for the new region, so we're working on that.
All right, keep up the good work. Who we got? Chris Lee, Conservation.
Good morning. We are kind of winding down our summer peak stuff. We had one intern complete his term last week. Our last intern was here just for this week, and then he's heading back to school. Both then going back to Iowa State. We've got our summer celebration event on Saturday, so come on out to Starscape Nature Center at noon to 3, and kind of celebrate summer one last time before the kids go back to school. So just kind of gearing up and getting ready for that. This is also the last week we have with our operations supervisor / park ranger, Pat Rogie. He's retiring after 33 years with our department, so just kind of get ready for those things.
All right. Put it over there. I'll bet he did. Who we got next? Natalie Steffner, Recorder's Office.
Good morning, just business as usual. When we're not helping the counter, answering the phones, we're working on the back indexing project, so it'll still take, a long time, but we're plugging away at it.
All right. Keep plugging away. Zach James, Land Use.
Yeah, good morning. Things going pretty well. Got kind of a few standard things, like subdivisions waiting to get recorded, a couple other applications, some floodplain issues we've been going through. Got our work session, I think, for next week to go through the solar ordinance. And we did get our first permit for Met Towers for the wind ordinance. I think it was something we kind of knew that was in the works. I know you had sent some emails to us about it, so we kind of knew it was going to be coming, but yeah, they submitted something, and it's our first test of our new wind ordinance. So
Don't fail us.
I have the feeling he was like the A student or no.
all right.
He was the correct curves that are that the rest of us glared at.
Just keep doing that. Whatever you did before, just keep doing that. Lisa Schaefer, County Attorney.
Well, I'm sure if you read the paper, you know that we're busy. National Night Out last week was a big success. No, I did not do the Doug tank, because I didn't even know it was gonna be there, so, but it was a good success. We, thank all of our sponsors and contributors, and donors. I'd also like to thank Jack from Maintenance for putting up a fence, around our landscaping that we paid so much money for a year or two ago, but apparently dog owners in downtown think it is their dropping ground, and it's been killing everything. So Jack worked diligently last week to get some fencing up, and is gonna continue to work around as the fencing comes in. But I just wanted to let Rodney know I really appreciate the effort that Jack has put into that. We're interviewing for our legal assistant position, which is a former records clerk. We've just kind of renamed it this week. Just kind of keeping that hiring process going to get that position filled. And maybe doing some restructuring of positions in the office to better utilize time and skills. So that's what we're working on right now.
All right. Trent, you got anything to throw in?
No, I'm in for the work session afterwards, so.
You don't gotta get funky about it. Anyways,
Let's see. Sheriff Kevin Glidden.
Good morning. A lot of things going on at the sheriff's office. Really no major news to report for the board, though. Our jail count was 82 this morning. 5 of those were in intake. We have 7 out of county and 3 are juveniles.
3 included in the 7?
No, sorry, 7 adults and 3 additional juveniles.
all right, kids are acting up. Sarah Marie, auditor.
Good morning. We've got several things going on in the works. Just keeping busy as usual. Nothing new to report at this time, though.
Okay, I got you, right? All right. Brian Carter, it's all you
You can't
now.
avoid him forever.
You got you right.
He drives.
I know, he's like running around.
Anybody else? Good morning. Just like Rodney, we had water in various places that didn't belong, Saturday morning also. I'd like to say thanks to our guys. It's a busy time of year for people to be gone on vacations and such, and we were pretty thin, and the select few that were still around and available did come in. We had to do some extra blading down south of Burlington. We had water that cut across the road in a fair number of places. And we had 2 or 3 pretty significant trees down. One was real big, and the guys had it was across, I wanna say it was summer. And they had it passable again within, I'd say, about a half hour, 45 minutes from finding out about it, I would say. So, in fact, some of the guys hung around Friday late afternoon. We had a tree limb, a big tree limb go across Irish also. So, so thanks to the guys for the extra time and coming in and doing that, and fixing up the gravel roads, at least get us through the weekend. And nothing drastic as far as damage, just stuff that obviously need to be dealt with when you get that much water all at once. It tends to make a mess. Other than that, the guys are still buttoning up the bridge on 190th. I think there's a chance maybe this week it opens up, but sometime soon, I guess I'd say. We've had to pull them a couple times to go do some other projects, but it's looking good. I'll get you guys out there sometime to take a look at that. And then Highway 99, that project's moving along. They've spent a better part of the last week demoing the bridge, the existing bridge. They have most of the deck gone, not quite all of the deck, but most of the deck gone. Piers and abutments still need to be dealt with. Obviously, the beams still have to be scrapped and taken out, but the concrete work on the north end of the bridge is wrapped up. There's still grading, there's still shoulders, there's still plenty of stuff. If you drop off the slab right now, you're not gonna be happy, so it's not like it's usable by any means, but there have been progress. If you get any calls, we do have a doozy of a pothole that has shown up the last couple of weeks on Tama Road. I guess we're not shocked. We didn't know how Tama would stand up to this level of traffic. So the guys are out this morning. They're gonna wait till the kind of the morning rush went through, and we're gonna try to do kind of a temporary patch to it, if that can hold up. we'll wait till we're done using it as a detour, then we'll have to move in and do something more, quite a bit more, extensive, I guess, is what I would say. If it doesn't hold up, we're gonna have to go out and do it in the middle of the detour and just close it down to a lane and try to do a more permanent repair, so that's kind of the story there, and we'll see how it goes. So they're gonna give it a shot this morning, and try to get in, try to get out without holding people up too much. Other than that, plenty of stuff going on, but got some good blading weather, so the guys are out blading, got the moisture, so we'll use it. And you know, it's funny, I know Burlington, I heard as much as 8 inches of rain. If you get up to the Yarmouth area, there was about a ½ inch. So it was, in fact, you go to Danville, they had 1 inch. So it was very isolated. I feel bad for Lee County. I think they're now within a month in their second disaster, because we got the edge of it, they got pounded in that rain,
I
so.
think the airport was 9.5.
Is that what it ended up being?
Yeah, cause
That's-
I live
that's
like right down by the airport.
Yeah, you got down towards Keokuk, I've heard 9 down there, and that just ran right up the river through Lee County. So, like I said, we had a small area, they had a pretty substantial area with that water, so. Anyway, yeah, plenty of stuff going on, and then you get something like that, and that kinda changes the schedule all at once, so it can be a little random sometimes.
Airport had ½ inch out there. That must come right straight through town here, because Roosevelt, I seen, they had it closed, or, you know, one-lane traffic there for a while.
Well, the airport was originally supposedly 4 or 5, what I was told, then they bumped it to 8, now they must have bumped it to 9 something, so.
That was what the weather service came out with.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was.
9.51.
9.5.
There were some, that's a crazy amount of rain in one storm. So, I'm sure there were plenty of people that had water issues, cause that's just not normal.
About to say, most of it went down to my basement, so,
I'll say, I took a couple inches, so.
Yeah.
yeah, I need to file for a federal disaster at the Campbell's house. Make sure you write that.
So anyway, that's all I've got, thank you.
Designated catch basin.
You're all right. Work session, don't you? Right. Any correspondence, gentlemen?
I have none.
Okay. That brings us to discussion and vote. First, we have 5A, which is payroll reimbursement claims. We have claims in the amount of $363.10 in reimbursements and 0 in non-cash taxable. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Brooker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Brings us to 5B, which is approval of 2022 homestead and military exemptions. This is a list of claims for homestead exemptions in accordance with section 425.3 and claims of military service tax credits in accordance with chapter 426A and sections 427.3 to 427.6. As presented, the homestead value is $55,030,379, and the military value is $3,266,928. How about that? These exemptions are the 2022 taxes payable 2023 and 2024. Can I get a motion to approve?
Approve?
Second.
I know I garbled that up, but do the math. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Brooker.
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes.
And there are 2 copies, those aren't different.
Next, we have 2 personnel actions. One for conservation and one for the auditor's office. Conservation first, which is Pat Rogie, how do you say that? Pat Rogie. It's his retirement. He's a rock and roll man. But anyways, he's retirement effective of 8/3/2023. He's going to be extremely missed. He was, did a fantastic job, so appreciate his service. Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve with, send along the board's respect and thanks, appreciation, so moved.
Second that.
Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. And then we have Susan Coling, the payroll first deputy from the auditor's office. She has a new rate of pay per anniversary. Her previous rate was $48,834.98. Her new rate of pay is $52,904.57, effective August 13th, 2023. Can we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Next, we have reports. We have the Recorder's Monthly Report of Fees Collected for July 2023. We have the Sheriff's Monthly Report of Fees Collected for July 2023, and we have the Clerk's Monthly Report of Fees Collected for July 2023. And all of these will be on file in the auditor's office, and you can check them out anytime you like. Next, we have 5E, minutes for regular meeting on August 1st, 2023. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Moving right along. I know you guys are real happy about that. Do we have any other business, gentlemen?
I have none.
Future agenda items?
I think we've got a work session next week with, Zach and Jared on the solar ordinance.
Correct. And we're also gonna do,
And senior citizens, Alice will be in.
real
Very
fast
quick.
before.
Very quick meeting. Committee reports. I had conservation, and we talked about the flooding in West Burlington, and Chris gonna be talking to DNR and all that good stuff, and have some information to come forward with us, see how we proceed. But I think our last, where we ended was possibly West Burlington, starting to draw some of that water down. Is that what we looked on?
Pumping some of that out so we can at least see that culvert.
That's all I had. Thomas?
I had a meeting of the Des Moines County Safety Committee. The CERT stands for the Community Action Emergency Response Team, the Community Emergency Response Team. They're gonna have the CERT Academy will be held November 4th and 11th in West Burlington. And if anybody's interested in volunteering for that particular organization, I know, like everyone else, they have trouble coming up with volunteers. You can call Emergency Management at 319-753-8206. And reminder that September is National Preparedness Month.
Can you give me that,
Number?
no, the date on that?
Oh, the CERT Academy,
Yeah.
November 4th and 11th. And it'll be held in West Burlington. I do not have a site yet.
Okay. And that number was 38206, did I get?
319-753-8206.
Thank you, Thomas.
That's all I have.
Okay. Now at this time, we would love to hear from the public. If you have something to share or to get off your chest, we want to hear from you. You can email us at board@dmcounty.com. Again, that is BOARD, board@dmcounty.com. Or you can call us at 319-753-8203, extension 4. And Sarah Marie would love to answer your phone call. That number is 319-753-8203, extension 4. We're gonna give you 2 minutes to hear from you. James, you gonna start the clock? Anybody have anything interesting to say? If not, Thomas, tell us. Tell us something interesting, Thomas.
I was chairman enough times that I was always hesitant about asking the public to get something off their chest. That often ended poorly.
Well, by the word, somebody did this morning.
But they it never seemed to hinder anybody's incentive to do just that, so.
Anybody that's in the audience today? Anybody have anything to share? Get off your chest? Let it out, let the big dog eat. Or the little one have a snack, whatever works for you.
Ken, how's the new pens coming along?
The new what?
Pen, mine's about out of ink.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we don't have any new bling for the new region. We didn't put that in the budget.
You didn't?
Yeah, cause, at some point, we're gonna have to do some marketing, but at this moment in time, we haven't ordered anything, so.
Okay.
He's smiling too, he's not
Yeah, I know
ashamed. He is unashamed. Wow.
Yes. I do have an old seal pen I'll give you though.
No.
I've used those up.
We wanna use these up, the old ones.
Hey, I just want to give another shout out to everybody that was that had their hands in National Night Out. It was another great success. Everybody seemed to be having a fantastic time. They were dunking people, you know, two kids ran me over and said, "Get out of the way!" Shoved me. It was great. But it's always just good to see how it progresses each year. I think it's just getting better and better. So if you missed out on it this year, make sure you're scheduled to come down to National Night Out next year. It's a
Always
great
the
experience.
first Tuesday in August.
There you go.
My daughter went 3 for 3 at the duck tank.
What's that?
She went 3 for 3 at the duck tank.
You've been working on her coach, haven't you? You've been working on her coach.
There are 3 different people.
Don't you have to warm up her arm first, or did she just go right
She
in?
just went up there cold.
Yeah, she's a winner.
I was 0 for 3.
You really wanted it, Sheriff.
Oh, man.
You've got daughters, you're gonna have to bring them.
Three different.
I did, and she went over 2, and she's pretty good. I mean, I think Zach's daughter and my daughter go to the same pitching coach, and apparently maybe we need to up our game.
Maybe he's find out if he's paying a little extra for a few minutes longer, but anyway. The 2 minutes is up, everybody. We certainly appreciate all of your time, and with an aye, we're adjourned.
Aye.
Okay, we'll be back here in a few minutes. We've got a couple work sessions. Our first one is with Carly Nelson, and then we have one following with Pioneer Cemetery, and then we'll be doing a project tour. So let's take 5, and we'll see you back here shortly. We are here with a meeting with Carly Nelson regarding the public health building. And we get an introduction and we'll get started.
Good morning, I'm Craig Nisus, I'm the marketing director for Carly Nelson and Company. Here to talk to you today about a groundbreaking ceremony.
You're gonna spell that the louder?
Please.
Yes, N is in Nancy, E is in Edward, I is in Irene, S is in Sam, E is in Edward, S is in Sam.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I'll challenge Mr. Broker to a spelling / pronunciation contest.
Nicest.
Very good.
I read your byline in the paper and I knew how to spell it, a pretty good idea.
Well, around here I answered Anicius just as well, so.
Oh.
So I guess, the reason for my visit today is to begin, planning, some kind of a ceremony to, kick off the, construction of the public health building. And so I wanted to, run some concepts by, get some feedback. The key thing is to choose a date. I did speak with Ryan Harris, our project manager. He's suggesting, just to get us within proximity to the beginning of construction, probably the second half of September. I would suggest that we choose a date and a rain date, whether it's 1 week and the next week, or 1 day and the next day. It would be up to you guys. So look at your calendars in the last 2 weeks, and if you wanted to do a Tuesday, so you're all already gathered, and
I was gonna mention that.
maybe head up to the site around 11 o'clock in the morning, say. If that's too late, we could say 10 o'clock if it causes, or 10:30 if it causes you guys to be able to get out of here earlier, push things along if the meeting is going a little slower.
Let's focus on the date first.
So, yes.
Let's look at, you said the second half, that's the
Second
weekend of
half, so we
25th.
would be like the 5th or
Is that
the
the
12th?
That's the 19th, 26th.
Yes, unless you wanna do,
The 19th and the 26th looks like the last 2 Tuesdays.
unless you wanna do the
And
middle,
if you wanted
which is
to
the
do like a
12th or the
ring-
19th.
Huh?
Unless you wanna do the middle, which is the 12th or the 19th.
I think they're
He
hoping.
said the second half, so
19th.
I would think 19 and 26.
Well, September
And have the
12th is
19th and the
still-
26th as the rain date?
September 11th
Is that,
stuff.
is that what you guys are thinking?
Yep.
Well,
19th.
you're digging a hole in the rain or not, you don't need a rain day.
What?
Right.
Tell him again, he's not hearing that, but anyways.
Well, that's more in terms of a courtesy for your guests and whatnot. So if it's something you.
Either one of them are okay with me.
Let's have the 19th for the day, and then the
Which-
26th for the.
I like that, let's do the 19th, that'll keep the pressure on Ryan.
There you go.
Go, I might sit down.
I will do that.
And, okay, let's deal with time now.
After the meeting.
Well, if we're worried about the meeting running over, we could always have it at 11:30 or, what's typical, they do it?
I don't,
in the
there's
morning?
no typical, it's just whenever works for the owner, it's, you guys are the key people, and Krista, that would need to be there, and whatever other, dignitaries you decide you want to include, but, the people that are gonna be, digging the dirt are the ones that you need to focus around, and certainly the ownership is the key to that. Everyone else can work around it or not come, so.
Do you typically invite the,
Well, that's on my agenda
Partnership.
to talk about.
Okay.
So,
11:30, that gives us plenty of time.
no, that's fine with me,
Have a
I'm
meeting,
good.
And that give us time to
Yeah,
get
we'll
over
grab lunch
there.
afterwards.
yeah. I don't know if you guys usually do like
Is it
a roads
11:30?
tour with Brian or anything like that after, and then lunch. I bumped into you guys at Culver's a time or two over the years, on Tuesdays, but, so if you want, even if you wanted to do it after lunch, if you guys could do your usual, post-meeting activities, if there are any, just a consideration, however you wanna do it is.
I like to before lunch, I'm good with that, you
Yeah.
guys are.
I like.
So 11:30?
Yeah. And most of the groundbreakings I've ever been a part of haven't taken any longer than half an hour-ish.
And do the 26th then for a rain date, or do you do,
Yeah.
usually do the
I think
20th?
Yeah.
the consensus was yes. So in terms of the Chamber of Commerce, the partnership, yeah, that's up to you guys. It depends on, you guys set the parameters, so, they do a lot of groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings and whatnot, so, they can do it one of two ways. They can come in and they can take the lead, then it becomes a Chamber of Commerce event. Or you can invite them just to attend and, bring out support, and then you can, gather up the attendees behind the people that are designated to turn some dirt and, show the support without necessarily being directly involved.
Colway Nelson got ribbon and a big pair of scissors.
Well, that'll be for the future, but we do have shovels.
What?
There will be shovels.
You got shovels,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Um,
Oh,
and-
that's right, the ribbon. that would
Right,
be
that's
good.
down the road.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. You have shovels?
Yes, we have
I'll
shovels.
bet you do.
We just did a groundbreaking, on a 50,000 square foot project in Keokuk last week. And so we do a lot, we just freshen up the gold paint on them.
What I'm hearing is that we're getting used shovels. Is that exactly what?
But new
But
paint.
they'll wash them
But
off.
new paint.
There you go.
We need to talk about that.
So it's and they are cleaned off, but they're repainted, so and I think it's pretty much all they're used for is groundbreaking, so. And we can, come up with, whether you need 6 or 12 or however many people you wanna have, dig. So that's something for you guys to determine. Do you wanna, let the chamber, organize it, promote it, or do you wanna invite them as just, some key leaders, to come and support the event as opposed to, just throwing it open to whoever among the chamber membership decides to come and let, I can't remember his name, Tim from the State Farm Insurance.
Oh, Lundgren?
Tim Lundgren, he kinda
Yeah.
takes the lead on some of those things, so, but it's like I said, it depends on whether you want it to be a chamber event or a county focused event.
Let's do the chamber,
And let them handle it.
let them handle it.
They usually do a good job.
Okay?
What do you think, Dov?
Doesn't matter to me.
And at this point, we're kinda planning it here, so I think they would, and we can just invite them to, maybe Tim could be the MC.
Okay.
They can just throw it over, because we want it to be a county, we want the focus to be on you
Yeah.
guys and your project, so I can give, the chamber a call and tell them what the plan is, and if they wanna have their folks out, but like I said, Carl Nelson will provide the shovels, we'll provide hard hats for the people that are gonna dig. And so it's just a matter of kind of, going through the who you wanna have be part of that group.
Who's gonna take care of are you guys taking care of, the media and all that stuff too, or?
Well, that's another question that I had as far as, that I assume you usually have the local news media here during
So to speak.
during the day, so to speak, such as it is today.
Tom said that I did. Where's Bob? Where's Bob?
Probably wanna reach out to the Hawkeye and
Yeah,
the
and-
Burlington Beacon and the
Radio.
Des Moines
Right,
County.
yeah, and, I can send out a press release, you guys can send one out. I'm sure Sarah could probably, put something on county letterhead and send it out to the appropriate people. And just list the date and the rain date and a little bit of detail about the project. So, I can definitely get a hold of the chamber folks and kind of clue them in on what's going on, and then we can kind of, just, get feelers for what they wanna do as far as their level of involvement. As far as, who's kinda, because you need to have somebody that's gonna kinda take the lead in terms of, moving from one step in the process to the next. And if it's the chamber folks, or if it's us, or, one of you guys.
Doesn't wanna be one of us. I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be me.
It'll be me.
I think it's the chairman who generally bear that
I
responsibility.
think you're probably right. That'd be my
Especially one
guess.
that's
That would certainly be.
Especially one that's well accustomed to public speaking.
That's gonna be real
that's
easy
my
to say,
point.
Tom? Jim? I know how to do
Nobody
that real
wants to
well.
hear what I have to say.
So in terms of the, there's two things. You can have, you're gonna want some people to kind of talk about what's going on. But then you're gonna wanna have some people also participate in the digging, the ceremonial digging aspect. And it's probably the speakers would come from that group, but you wouldn't have everybody that's digging talk.
Well, Krista P. would probably be one of the speakers, I'm sure. And I would think, I would have Tom say something just because he's been a lead man on it, so, you can work that out, have Pam help you out. Anyways. But actually, I think all the supervisors should have something to say on that, Krista P. and then, somebody from Carl A.
Yeah, either Ryan or Dan. I'll let them wrestle over which one of them's gonna do it. So, all right. So all three of you guys plus Krista and Ryan or Dan. And so then all of you guys, would be, and the three of you, Krista, Ryan and or Dan, would be, part of the digging crew. You know, other folks that you might consider, we'll invite the architectural team, you know, whether they're able to make the trip or not, especially if it's a rain date situation. But, you know, their representative, whoever their lead is at that day, could be part of the digging group. But are there others on staff, others in the community? You know, would you want to invite the mayor, would you want to invite the medical director?
What?
Would the engineer digging, part of that?
I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely up to you guys.
Whatever the,
So, okay.
I think I've attended a couple of groundbreaking, that they just wanted somebody to stand there, but,
And it's
anytime
generally
I
people
ever
that have some
operated
connection
shovels,
to the project.
that business.
So it's just, I mean, in terms of, you know, organizing it, or who's gonna work in it or be served by it. So if you, like, public health board, your medical director, county medical director would be somebody that you might consider.
Public
you know,
health board would probably be.
Yeah, any other county officials that, you know, would be relevant to the process, maintenance director, you know, what have you. So that's, I don't necessarily need to know.
We'll get them names to you.
Right, cause I need to know in terms of the
How
number
many
of shovels
shovels
and
we're
hard
gonna have?
hats,
Yeah.
I need to know a list.
Remember, I said you don't need one for Shane,
No hard hat.
no hard hat.
No, I was gonna say, you're not gonna let him have a shovel? That's harsh.
Hopefully I can get a shovel, I just don't need a hard hat apparently.
So yeah, so you guys will work on a list of names, and if you want any additional person to speak, like, you know, the chairman of the you know, Board of Health, or the medical director, or whoever, in addition to Krista representing the public health group, that's fine, that's entirely up to you guys. There's some other trappings around a groundbreaking. You know, do you wanna have a printed program, so people that attend know what's gonna happen? You know, and these things all kinda get into a little bit of cost. So for printing, for paper, you know, you have a podium that you could bring out that has like the county logo on it? Would you even want such a thing? Some kind of a sound system so people, you know, can hear.
The chamber's got one of those. I actually have a,
Well, I don't wanna spend more on this than we do the building.
I have to check my speaker box, but it
You
still
don't
should be.
need a sound system.
Well, we should.
Get a Mr. Microphone.
Yeah, there you go. Because you will be along a fairly busy intersection. And you know, if there's wind that day or whatever, you know, it would drown for people that are trying to hear what's being said.
We've got our own law enforcement agency, we can just shut it down 2 ways.
There you go. Just bring it.
How was that?
Just bring
Nobody
a
drives
squad
until we
car.
get to. Can I move? Tom's still talking.
Just bring a squad car up into the grass and just use the speaker
There
on
you
top
go.
of
The PA
top
on
of the
that.
car. So, sound system, but I can check with the chamber and see if they have something that they could bring and we could use. I'm gathering you probably don't wanna do anything as far as, you know, stand around kind of refreshments or anything like that. It's, maybe that's more maybe a ribbon cutting kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as site prep, we'll take care of that. We'll work with the contractor that's doing the site work to, you know, pre-dig a spot, so we're not digging into.
So we don't actually have to get blisters?
Right. And make sure that the dirt's not hard as a rock if it's dry or what have you, so. The news release we've already talked about, and then, given the prominence of the location, we wanted to, look into some project signage. What we would suggest is a couple of 4x8 aluminum signs that had a rendering of the building, you know, future home of Des Moines County Public Health, and then list the county, us, CMBA, you know, and probably do 2 of them, one on at the
Face
corner.
agency and one.
At agency, or at agency and at current, and just put those on posts. We'd probably go ahead and place one, but then we'd have another one kind of in the background behind the diggers, for the pictures and stuff that are gonna happen that day, so. And as far as digging, you can have, you know, multiple groups, if you wanna have, you know, like the entire Department of Public Health staff out there, they could, you know, take a picture. Certainly they should be invited, I don't know if you wanna shut down the clinic for, you know, an hour so they can attend or what have you. I mean, it's certainly an important constituency, along with your board. That's a decision for you guys to make. But, you know, you can do, you can have your primary group of diggers, and then you can have other, you know, constituencies come in and
So you could have your entire public health board have a turn, and get your picture taken, and then you can have your staff get their picture taken.
Well, trying if we left Shane out there all day to dig, if we get any sort of a credit on the site work contractor.
Trying to think what the terminology.
Thanks for thinking about me, Tom.
I think. We try to avoid having, situations where we have to do rework.
Man, I love it. Craig's out of order. Craig's out of order. Wow, I love this guy. I thought I did. Hey, and just for the record though, Craig, the chamber does have the podium and
Okay.
the microphone and stuff that they use all the time for those, so
Okay.
I don't think it would be a problem for them. I know I'm speaking for them.
Shane
but-
Carthy's name into the.
Do you guys have like a logo or like a,
Yeah.
so that you could put on the front of the podium, like a seal kind of thing you see on,
Could we get what you're just saying, like a,
Presidential seal?
then tape it on there or whatever?
County.
Something like
We
that.
could probably,
We print
Austin
out
could
something
probably,
like that for the logo.
Austin can print something, we can laminate something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as, speakers or participants, as far as others, there is some federal money involved in this, so you could always reach out to, Miller Meeks' staff and Grassley's staff and Ernst's staff and see if they wanna be represented. And on the off chance that any of those three would be in town, and could participate, and, just sort of, talk about the ARPA benefit, being at kind of the back of this. I know you guys, move that money around a little bit, so it's not maybe as directly involved as it would
Well,
be.
it's ARPA money.
Yeah.
I guess I would want to limit their time. Less than 3 or 4 of them get up.
Well, yeah, I would.
We're live, Tom.
He didn't mean it.
Yeah, you can certainly limit the number of speakers to whatever you wanted to do, so. I was just at the event last week, Senator Reichman from Keokuk and Representative Miller Meeks were both present, and they spoke for a couple minutes, and it didn't, make the thing run long or anything, so.
I think we'll send out something on that. And
I mean, you just include it in the press
It
release.
is,
and,
it is,
and with an
it is federal
invitation.
money, so
Yeah.
that, yeah.
I mean, as a courtesy to invite them if nothing else.
Yeah, yeah.
And they can send Grassley had a representative at the event last Thursday in Keokuk.
Oh, there-
He was not personally there.
Whenever
but his
something
staff
like that,
was.
those offices usually have a rep.
Yeah.
or-
So, and then whether you wanted to, if one of them actually did come, if you wanted to have them speak, then that would be something you'd add to the program.
Okay.
And so we've already talked about the news release, the signage, there's some cost to that, because they are, we do get them produced locally, so the money we'd spend on those would stay in town. Signtex does a really nice job with those over there on, behind the old Happy Joe's.
And
on
if
Market Street.
we did do like a little small program, we've got the printers, color printers, we could make one of those little full, you know what I'm saying, down here, no problem. I don't think we need all that many anyways.
Yeah, you probably could be able to get away with 25 or 30, with the number of people that would come, so.
Yeah.
The only thing we've got to do is get a list of names to you at this time.
Yeah, we've got our dates, we've got our time.
Our date and time, we'll get a list of names.
I'll get in touch with the chamber about them being represented and making use of their sound system and podium. And I will work on getting the sign and send you guys a proof of the sign and what it'll look like. And cost estimate if you'd like to see that.
Yeah, you might as well send that to you.
Okay.
Sounds good.
It's gonna be made out of aluminum?
Yeah, it's an aluminum panel, so it's a printed, it's basically a really large sticker that adheres to like an 1/8 inch thick aluminum panel that we'll put up on, 2x4, posts, for the duration of the project.
That's good, then when they come down, Rodney, you can use them for patching roofs if they leak.
And if there's examples of what we'd be looking at out at BHS, right there on
Yeah.
Terrace Drive and in the parking lot, by the pool. As far as the type of material and how it generally looks.
Sounds great.
Well, this is a big deal, so we need to make sure we don't try to make it small. We've been trying to get that health department, that little box for 50,000 years, so it's finally, we wanna make it happen.
My grasp of the purpose of this meeting was extremely limited. I thought we'd be talking about a date and that'd be it.
Well, we wanna be thorough so they don't have to come back and
No,
pester you guys.
that's fine. I'd been on this for 3 or 4 years, and some guy kept asking me about the Des Moines County flag. I said, as far as I know, there isn't one. Asking everybody, nobody said there is one. Finally, I was, somebody down here, he said, you've been staring at it, he said, for 3 years. That's the only one in existence. The state came up with those and made those for each county, and so one of the supervisors at that time drove to Des Moines and picked it up, so,
Maybe we gotta look into getting.
grasp
more
of some of
made.
those issues is what we'd hope.
That's a very busy piece of cloth.
It is a very busy piece of cloth.
The other question is completely separate from our conversation. Has it ever been officially adopted by the county?
I have
Because
no
the state
idea.
flag was not officially adopted by the state until like a decade ago.
Really? I have no idea. They apparently, they framed it and put it there. Or maybe it came framed from the state, I have no idea.
There's some writing there, I can't read it.
I've never been curious enough to read that either.
Centennial flag, 1846, 1996.
There we go.
All right, well, that is all that I have.
Okay. well,
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Especially when I get to make a little jab at Shane. It's always
And I was hoping for a work session I didn't have to think about.
It's like old times.
Just like old times, Craig, that's right, that's right. You haven't changed a bit, jerk, get out of here. So I get him out of here. Good to see you, Craig.
Wanna take a quick break? Anybody need a break before we go into the next work session?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Craig. See you.
Always good to see you.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna roll right into our next work session, which is with the Pioneer Cemetery, and it's regarding the access to Old Danville. So, can we get you guys to introduce yourselves, those of you that are here for this work session, and we'll get started doing some work.
Okay, my name's Herbert Price. I happen to be chairman this year. Steve Stoller.
Paul French.
Okay.
Might be if we just had, I don't think the email the board got from Brian, I don't think these gentlemen have,
I apologize, I
Seen
sent
that.
my email to you guys.
assuming that we would
And
pass it on to the relevant individuals and we didn't.
So that's somewhat on me, sorry about that. So I'll just kind of run through, I've got the email pulled up and try to pull up anything else out of my brain, but I did meet with Leroy, for about an hour and a half. It was, I actually enjoyed it. I've known Leroy for a long time and enjoy conversations with Leroy, and hearing the old boy stories that kind of interest me, so that doesn't, it didn't hurt I didn't expect it to be that long, but that's just the way that goes. So I'm just gonna go through my email to kind of try to keep from rambling too much. I will verify, and I did verify, I shouldn't say will, I did verify, and Leroy made it crystal clear that the general assessments that I heard while I was here last time regarding Lade, and his feelings towards the Pioneer Cemetery Commission were dead on accurate, if not almost understated. Leroy made it crystal clear that Lade hates Pioneer Cemetery Commission, and that if there's anybody that hates them more, it's his wife. So, I think that stems give you a little background, and I think I get it. I know, you gotta understand how people work, but I think a lot of the previous dust up over the cemetery, and the legal side of that occurred in a similar time frame as Leroy's wife passing away, which is obviously a kind of a shitty time for anybody in their life. I think Lade and his wife being right there, this is me reading between the lines, where the sounds of it, they were helping quite a bit with Leroy, and just what, like anybody does, trying to figure out life and what's happened and everything else. And I think they helped him quite a bit during that legal process involving the cemetery and everything else. And that those two time frames being overlapped, I think combined to where Lade stands at, I guess. Lade would not call me back. I did verify he got my messages, through Leroy. He passed messages on the, he didn't even know what I was calling about, for the record. But he passed them on to Leroy, informed Leroy I was looking to talk to him. So, out of respect, I tried to contact Lade first and left 2 messages, and eventually I went ahead and tracked Leroy's cell phone number down and talked to Leroy. So, met with Leroy on site, and kind of went through, well, I wanted to hear his side, wanted to hear the history, I guess. Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. You know, I heard talk about here about headstones and how they end up being piled in a barn and stuff. But what apparently happened was when the tornado went through Danville in the 60s, there was a big shed back behind, or a big barn back behind where Leroy's was, and that got blown over. And so by the time the dozer work was all done and everything else, what was left was stacked up somewhere in a corner or something to that effect. So it was all some side effect of the tornado for headstones and stuff like that. And Leroy's not forgotten that whole legal process. He's definitely civil. He didn't get angry, didn't get worked up at all, but he said, we were standing in his garage briefly, and he said, hold on for a second. And he walked into his house, and 3 seconds later came out of his house, and I'm not exaggerating, it was that quick, with a stack of envelopes wrapped together with numbers on them that were dollar amounts that he spent on the attorney, and these were all attorney letters, all about 2 inches tall, involving that topic. So it's right there, still a little bit fresh, but not to mention the money he spent on it also, because he showed me that also. So anyway, I wanted to kind of get to that because I wanted to see what the story was there. But I also want to mention, I don't, during this entire time, he never once mentioned anybody's name at the Pioneer Cemetery Commission, and I didn't even get the feeling with Lade that it was something personal against any one person. It was the name and the group as a whole, I guess, is what that's me taking into kind of the overall conversation. So since it all plays together, obviously we had a wide-ranging conversation, and I thought I'd pass everything on that I can remember. I've probably missed something in the whole middle of it, but so we walked all the way from the road basically to the cemetery and back. So I want to go through his points. I think some of them should definitely be heard by the commission, and I think some of them are probably valid to some extent, but again, this isn't my area. Let's start with why the fence posts got put up. I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but the reason Leroy put up the 5 fence posts to keep from cutting through the trees, and then the single fence posts up north of the tree, we'll call it, was because at some point when the mowing guy left, instead of keeping on Leroy's gravel driveway, his trailer tires off-tracked and ran right down the entire length of his flower bed and killed the east half, or the south half. He has a linear flower bed, and it's right alongside his driveway.
But opposite the tree. Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a couple of them.
there are a couple of them. So the reason he did that was because he was pretty well irritated at that point that the mowing guy ran over his flowers. And I will say this, when I got there, Leroy just got done mowing and weed eating and cleaning flowers out of flower beds. So he takes his, I sent you guys pictures, so I brought 5 because I didn't know what I needed. So those are the posts. I guess I have extra, they're black.
Are there any on the other side, the north side of the tree?
Yes.
What? That's why the other post is there.
Yeah.
It's
You don't
because
have-
he's got his gardens and his flower bed up on the north side
So
there.
there's one post on the other side?
There's a single post north, you can see it in this picture.
Okay.
Just on the right side of the picture. That's the post that you guys were worried about being narrow. for, sorry about the black and white, obviously my printer decided I was trying to conserve ink.
So the one to the north is all the way
Yes.
here.
Yeah, I can see it here.
So that's the reason he put him up. And actually, had I asked him to, he was willing to pull the post again. He had cooled off about that. And I guess he and I both agreed in the long run, that if Lake's position is such that that isn't gonna be the way it's gonna work, why keep using it? So that's,
Expand on that, what do you mean?
Well, and that'll also help keep his flower bed safe. If we're just going straight in and straight out.
yeah, why, he was willing to pull the post, and he had cooled off enough. I think that if I said, would you just pull the post and let him use your driveway? I think he would have gone for that. In fact, I'm 99% sure he would have gone for that. But then after it's all said and done, we talked last time about trying to kind of validate the easement that you guys have, and in our conversation last time, we discussed rocking, which I think would be a huge mistake. But trying to verify or validate that you're using a certain easement along there before Lade ever takes over the property and tries to do something to block you. Well, just simply driving in and out a half dozen times a year is the exact same purpose. So Leroy and I both agreed, leave those 5 posts there if that's what he wants, and that the commission will start using the 14-foot.
Right side of the tree.
Yes, the 14-foot strip in and out.
Okay. Except that the tree encroaches on the 14 feet. Does everybody agree to that?
Well, let me keep going.
Okay.
I mean, we discussed that too.
Okay, very good.
But if I don't, I'm already digressing. So, all right, so we discussed the field post. Okay, well, that's apparently all I have. So the post, on the north side of the tree, because I did address that very specifically with Leroy, you were concerned about it being too narrow for a vehicle to get by.
Between the post and the tree?
Leroy argues that, he says you can drive a vehicle by that. I didn't try, doesn't matter to me, and I wasn't looking to argue with him, that wasn't gonna get me anywhere. I did ask him if he would be willing to move the post, perhaps 1.5 or 2 foot further north, and I felt like he might, I think he was going to do that. In fact, I'm not sure he wouldn't have just did it right after lunch kind of a thing. It may not have gotten moved, I didn't stand around and watch him do it, and I didn't offer to do it, but he was willing to shift it slightly north to give some more room there.
That's good.
So then we went on back while we were walking, and here's kind of some of Leroy's frustrations with the current situation and some stuff that I think you guys need to be aware of. From gate to gate, I guess, so is where the easement lies, alongside the fence. Leroy was less than thrilled about some of the spraying that got done out there.
Spray.
Somebody came along and sprayed the fence row.
Yep.
And it killed some trees in the fence row. He thinks it looks like crap, and would like it cleaned up, and said if somebody would have said something to me, I would have cleaned up the fence row and, whatever. Not, that's neither here nor there, but I wanted to emphasize or mention that he was, did I give everything? Did I miss one, you
I've got
guys?
3 pictures.
Alright. So, as you can see, in front of the gate, you see the weeds? Did I forget to give you guys one?
No, I looked at them when you sent us the,
I don't know, maybe I only brought, I was trying to do this before I walked out. Anyway, the pictures you see are a bunch of weeds.
Yeah, we got those.
I guess the pictures that you see are a bunch of weeds. That is the current easement. 14 foot off that fence line. Leroy wants Pioneer Cemetery Commission from gate to gate. Leroy will keep mowing from the road to the gate, just like he does his yard and everything else and taking care of that. He wants the commission to clean that up and start mowing that and using it. Right now, Leroy is mowing a strip along the north side, which is hard to see in the black and white photo. He's gonna quit mowing that. And he plans to convert that.
Effective immediately?
No, but he plans to convert all of that north of the right of ways, or the easement, to row crop next year. So, so one of his beefs is the way it looks and that kind of stuff. So he wanted me to mention that, and he'd like to see that fence line cleaned up, and he'd like to see that easement starting to be maintained and used. And he wanted you to know that he is, right now, he's planning on planting corn in there next year, is what he told me. Whether he does it or not, that's what he told me.
It's
And
a
he said,
residential lot, I mean, I don't.
So he's wanting
That's
us to
within
take
the city.
responsibility to keep the weeds mowed between the two fences.
Between the two gates.
along the
Between the
fence
two
between the
gates,
two
yeah.
gates.
Between the two
And the
gates.
gates are 16 foot wide. So, you know, a 14-foot easement, 16-foot wide gates, so there's no access trouble there. You know, the tree is still what it is. My advice is to, let's get the mailboxes moved. I talked to Leroy about moving the mailboxes. He and the two neighbors have talked, they want them kept together. Leroy's gonna give me the exact spot where he wants them along his frontage, and that way we put them where he wants them.
That's good.
So we talked about that, and I haven't done anything because that's on direction from the board, and I hate to say this, but I will have to submit some small bill just to keep that clean, not necessarily you guys, but the board's directing me to do this, is how I take it. Well, unless you want me to direct it to Pioneer Center, I don't care how that happens, but I wanna mention that. It won't be a lot, but we're gonna they're kind of on wood posts and stuff, and we don't have augers anymore on our sign equipment, so we're just gonna build a metal post frame and put all three on the same frame. He was fine with that. So I did discuss that. Go ahead, yeah.
We are prepared to pay for that out of our budget money. We left maintenance money on the table last fiscal year. We are prepared to pay.
Okay, it won't be a lot, so.
Would that include cleaning up that fence row?
The fence row, I'm gonna try and get the mower to do something with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't be able to do anything in there, but whoever you do have go there, I mean, he didn't say anything specifically about the mower other than running over the flowers, but I would guess he's not the most happy. In fact, I said something about, well, the mower he can just park out on the road and unload and drive in the easement with the mower. And he said, oh, he's not gonna do that. So,
Can I add something at this point?
oh, you can have whatever you want, this
Okay.
is not a.
The mower evidently left the gates open and a horse got out.
Ooh. Okay, so
And did
there's
Leroy
probably
talk
not the
about-
warmest of feelings.
Yeah, that may be fueling some of this. Did Leroy mention?
No,
the
he
horse?
did not.
Okay.
He did
Yep.
bring up the horse.
He mentioned it to me.
We discussed the horse, but we did not discuss that particular situation.
Yeah, the mower evidently left the gate open or ajar or something, and the horse got out.
I think he put the horse down. I think in our conversation, the horse is now deceased, but anyway, so I guess where I'm going with this is, what I saw there and what you see in those pictures might be a bit much for just a guy mowing lawn,
Yeah.
with that kind of
That's
a
what
mower.
I'm hearing you do.
But you're gonna definitely need to have it in your radar to clean that up, if he in fact does something in that lot, and you're not gonna know till it happens, so.
I think that needs to be cleaned up regardless, dude. I mean, I think in
Well, that's
good
kinda
faith-
his position. I didn't push it. I don't know if what got sprayed and what didn't. The spraying irritated him, that was clear.
Okay, that we don't know anything about. And-
Yes, we know something about that.
Well, we sprayed the,
What do we know, Steve?
yes.
I sprayed the fence row.
Yeah,
You did?
I don't know anything
Yeah,
about it.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, totally overgrown.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that may come up if somebody's out there cleaning up. I'm just trying to relay on all the conversations,
Yep.
so if anybody's out there not caught, from anything that I could have passed on. He was civil to talk to the whole time about the topic, but I would say, get the mailboxes moved. He was quite happy, he thought it was really dumb to put a culvert in the ditch. So he's quite happy that they're not gonna put a culvert in, I let him know that. And he's all for starting to use that, and he even said himself, it's not like they're in there very often. And I would start using it, and I'm assuming he will have shifted the tree, or the post a little bit. If he hasn't, have the mower park in the road to start, and then talk to Leroy and say, would you please shift that so that we can pull back in there. He said the mower turns around in his pasture area, so obviously he's looking for that to go away, which there's room in the edge of that cemetery, somebody can turn around if they wanted to.
So there's another point that we ought to talk to the mower about. It would be best not to use his land to turn around in, but go inside our cemetery and turn around where the sign is.
Yeah, I would say that the best habit would be to just use the easement as much as possible. But if where I'm going with this is one of the things we talked about last week that tied to rocking and everything else was establishing the use of that so that if Lade comes along and wants to try to be a thorn, I guess, for lack of better, there's a history. You know, Leroy's 90, Leroy has every intention of getting to 95. You know, it'd
If
be
anybody's
best.
gonna do it, by God, Leroy.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
truth. That man is with it and on it. Probably better than I am right now. I mean, he's got it, and he's got it. Good part. Did you know he'd been struck by lightning? That was really interesting. But
Did the lightning say ouch after it hit?
it was like I said, it was an interesting conversation. But either way, I'd say let's get the boxes moved if that's what you want to do. I don't know who's filling the dirt, fill the dirt in, and then just start doing that. You probably need, there's a rub there with the mower guy for some obvious reasons, so.
I'm looking for the things to talk to the mower guy about.
Yeah, and he was clearly unhappy, that's why the post went in but it's not like he cussed him either. He just wasn't a big fan, and I could tell that.
Well, so you guys use a mower for all the cemeteries, right?
We have about, how many different mowers do we?
Several different ones.
We use different mowers. This man mows several of our cemeteries. It's Joe Dawes is who the mower is.
Because I know Dwayne mows, and him and Leroy get along very well.
Back to the.
Dwayne.
Worthy?
Worthy? I wonder if we.
He's not one of ours, I don't think.
Not one of ours. I was looking for, perhaps we need to find a different mower to go that cemetery.
I think that's why he's bringing up Dwayne.
Dwayne might be a
Maybe
good person to talk to.
Yeah.
He
They
used to be
might,
the
they
jail
might get
administrator.
along and it might help the cause, but
Yeah.
it sounds to me like, I'd say we need to start using it, and whoever's gonna be in there, I think needs to know that if it's wet, don't drive through the yard to get back to the cemetery, kind of a dynamic. I mean, I think, or drive your mower, not the trailer and stuff. Just, you know, we've gotta remember, you have an easement, you don't own the land.
Yeah.
So,
Leroy's gonna mow from the street back to that first gate.
yes, that was his
We're-
plan.
We're
And then-
going to
then
assume
you're
we're gonna assume responsibility, it sounds like, from the first gate to the
The
gate.
second gate,
Yeah.
on that 16 foot wide, not into the other. yeah.
Which, once it's cleaned up, is like
Yeah.
5 minutes of mowing.
Yeah.
Well, he can just turn his mower on and
Yeah.
run to the cemetery, mow the cemetery, and on the way back, run another
It's,
swath or
it's,
two.
it's really not much at all, so.
That's a no imposition, I don't think.
That
So-
hasn't been mowed because that's always been pastured.
Yeah.
That's why we never mowed that previously, because
Yeah.
it's been pasture. And
Okay.
now, if he wants to go to row crop, then yeah, we should
Well,
definitely mow it.
I don't
We
know if he's
can-
gonna row crop it, I think the point he was driving home was quit using my side of the
Right.
easement.
Right.
I don't know if he's gonna do anything,
Right.
but he didn't say that, but that's the neon flashing statement without it being said.
I wonder if it'd be worthwhile to find a different mower for that cemetery.
It sounds to me like, reach Dwayne, that might be
Yeah.
there. Once somebody's pissed you off
Yeah.
a couple, 3 times,
It keeps happening.
you don't have any warm feelings to start
Yeah.
with, so, and the other guy says, well, yeah, I think it'd be great if you could get somebody who gets along with Leroy like Dwayne.
That might be
That would be great.
a good start.
Yep.
And to mow between the two gates, and,
Clean up that fence row.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Who are you gonna have? Because that needs to be cleaned up just right.
Well, and Dwayne, I mean, I don't know what all Dwayne does, but if you get a mower guy who's friendly with Leroy, you know,
Leroy can talk to him.
Yeah, I mean, there could be a conversation there, and then Dwayne could report back and say, you know, cause Leroy's probably gonna want some stuff that you're not gonna do right away or not do at all. I mean, that's kind of finding a balance, but yeah, there's definitely a weed problem there, and it needs knocked back and starting to be mowed. And the fence line to me is not something that he cares that gets cleaned out immediately. He just doesn't like the way it looks, and
I think that's-
would like the long-term, whether you do, I didn't make any commitments, I didn't commit you guys to doing anything. I was just there as a neutral party, and that's what I let him know.
I think that would be a great first step, is just, you're the one that making, you know, this is bothering him to go ahead and do that. And one other is if we could get email addresses that you want, if Brian would forward that email, what do you think of those pictures?
Yeah,
to
man,
these guys?
I can type it in today and send it to you, where I sent you guys.
Send you those pictures so you have a record of that conversation and the actual pictures.
I'll forward the first conversation first, and then I'll have the email from there.
now, what does the Board of Supervisors expect about payment to Mr. Carter for moving the mailboxes? Do you wanna put it in your budget, or do you want me to?
Well, if you got it in your budget, put it in your budget. You're
That's
talking
why
to
you
me.
gave me the money, right, to spend.
I should've took his thing much for a break.
Yeah.
But there's Dwayne Worthy's cell phone.
Okay, so, he would be a good mower, if he would agree to take over Old Danville. Joe Dawes, Meadows, others, you're gonna miss, okay, this is good information.
That's Dwayne.
Dwayne's a good guy.
Yeah, well, and he gets along with Leroy.
And that's huge.
That makes it even
If
better.
Leroy can say, hey, Dwayne.
Well, probably somebody needs to ask Dwayne if he gets along with Leroy.
Yeah,
I don't know
well,
if anybody
explain-
knows that firsthand.
Well, that's a point.
Yeah,
Dwayne says I'm not going anywhere.
Dwayne needs to know that he's following a mower that hasn't hit it off with Leroy.
Yeah.
Something else to add, did you notice how the center of our cemetery plot is full of grasses?
Oh, Leroy pointed out to me. That was also a rub with him, but I didn't even bring that up, but.
Okay, that is a dedicated prairie restoration place. It started out with the interest in monarch butterflies, but now it's morphed into more. And we have people that are taking care of that and telling us what to do. There's a desire to burn it off, which has never happened because conditions have never been right. We also mow it repeatedly, and we're trying to reestablish natural prairie grass in that center point.
I'd be pretty careful about having a controlled fire
Yes,
next
we-
to somebody else's field.
Oh, yeah, we've never had the courage to go ahead and do that.
Well, I don't know that Leroy would care, but I would say that would require some communication ahead of time. He did point out to me, I think that kind of rolled into the part of the conversation about spraying and some other stuff. So we didn't dwell on it, it was briefly mentioned and we moved on. That was to me just a detail.
I don't think he approves of us planting prairie grasses there.
I'm not sure he approves of you.
Period. End of sentence.
In any way, and he may not, I mean, you know, when you think of the Pioneer Cemetery Commission, of course, you think of the cemetery, the side of it. So, I think if Leroy wanted to push the topic, he probably could have, an argument but he did not, about the native grasses, but
He's
he's
treated
aware
me
of them.
real nice. He directed me to stones that were along a fence line that weren't inside the cemetery and told me that once the corn was harvested, to go over there and get them and bring them to the cemetery, which Paul repaired them. What was the family name that was on those? Do you
I don't recall.
It was a new family to Old Danville, so now those stones are waiting in Paul's garage to be
No,
delivered.
they got taken back.
Oh, they did get taken back? Leroy called those to my attention, told me what to do. He said, just drive your pickup out there on the cornfield when it's picked and get those stones and bring them to the cemetery, and which is what I did. So he did that.
He's not, clearly Lade is, but he's not like overly angry or, I mean, he's still not happy about it. I mean, I think he went through kind of the legal history with me, and there must have been some lady out of Mount Pleasant involved with this, who he.
Mormon.
I don't know who it is, but
yeah.
she, not fond of her, and they, cause their original demand or ask was that entire pasture area that was their first claim, was the entire pasture area was the Pioneer Cemetery.
I don't believe that's a true statement.
All I can tell you is that's what he took out of it, or that's what he told me, and
We
so.
found an aerial photograph that showed the cemetery. See, the deed, when the church sold the land, said, I deed to this person our land, excluding the cemetery. And that's all it said.
Yeah.
It didn't say an acre of ground,
That's
or
pretty good.
located here, there, or any other place, excluding the cemetery. Well, everybody in Danville knows where the cemetery is. So actually, that cemetery land still belongs to the church, whoever the church is. Local church, regional church, whatever. He's never owned that land. And, but it's never been defined either. So we found aerial photographs that, and through negotiation with Leroy and his lawyer, we determined that this shall be the land we're fussing about. And that's what he wrote in the quick, what was put in the quick claim deed, was that land. Tom,
Yeah.
you have a question?
No, I'm just listening.
I'm not gonna, I would definitely not claim and say everything Leroy told me was the truth, but I
Well, there's
wasn't
more
really
to
in a
the story,
position
and
to
I'm
argue either
surprised he
way.
didn't talk about the horse, because he was really pissed, and he talked to me about that.
Yeah,
And,
I don't blame him.
No, I understood that
I'm
entirely.
surprised that one didn't come out either.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he didn't say something, but.
Well, I think there's a history of fence line problems above and beyond the gate. So who knows? It could be that it walked out someplace else. Mower just happened to be there.
Well, we
It's-
don't
it's-
know.
We don't know, we don't know. Doesn't
This
matter.
is what
We passed.
Leroy believes, so we go with that.
Well, yeah, that was his position at the time, but I think that the time is now to do some of these things, they start using the new and all that sort of stuff, and that way, hopefully Leroy lives another 5 to 10 years of a good long life. You guys use the easement that you were given for the next 5 to 10 years, and that way, if eventually Lade does come into the picture and causes trouble, maybe that won't be the case. Maybe if there's 5 to 10 years of peace, maybe that won't happen, but if there is this built-up history of driving in and out, not having issues, being able to get past the tree. He made it crystal clear, if you guys wanna take the tree down, it's your own cost. I said, nobody wants to take the tree down. It was planted by Lade and his mom together, 3 or 4 of the trees were. And anyway, it's the healthiest looking. I said, nobody's wanting to take the tree down, that's the topic, is they wanna get around the tree.
Yes.
So he was gonna, I'm 50-50 that if I drove out there right now, he went ahead and shifted the post a couple foot, but I wouldn't guarantee that.
Yeah.
I just asked him if he would consider it, he said yes.
Well, if he has a different mower, Mr. Morton or Courtney, they may be.
That wouldn't hurt the cause if I had to
I
guess.
think that's a good place to start, don't you?
Anytime there's any sort of an inconvenience with the mower or anything, you take the scab off the whole thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're right back to where you started.
Mr. Doss is a very good contractor. He is a little gruff.
A little bit.
And a little gruff,
Oh.
a little short.
Well, he may not even know, I don't know if Leroy confronted him, he never told me that he did. I don't know if he knows he
I don't know if
drove
the
down
two-
the flower bed or not, but it certainly.
Leroy never told us that the flowers had been
Yeah.
damaged.
I'm not shocked at that either. I don't think Leroy's gonna go out of his way to talk to you guys. I mean, I don't, he didn't cuss you.
But if he's got an issue, the way you resolve an issue is you start with people who have the power to do something about the issue, rather than let it fester.
Well, but should we, after we get some plans put together, should we write a letter to Leroy that explains what we've done and that we plan on using this, and that we'll go around the tree even though we realize it's in the easement, and What do you think?
Yeah.
Should
I
we-
mean,
I would just like to see.
It doesn't hurt anything, it doesn't necessarily move the ball. It's one of those things where legally, from a legal perspective, a letter like that does help to show the history of usage of this easement we've been granted, that we've now
Taking
fixed
care of the
it.
weeds between the two gates.
Yeah. So in a way, it helps that. In another way, if something doesn't happen exactly like we write out in the letter, they could say, aha, see? And these things get personal, and although the aha, see, probably has very little legal bearing if they were to somehow try to file a motion to quiet title, it's still,
Well, where do we
you
stand?
know, it's a
Lee?
double-edged sword, but I think part of what you're saying is you don't wanna let things fester is correct, but if he doesn't have open lines of communication with us, that's one thing. If you do switch and you go with Dwayne, he's got that cell phone number on speed dial, he'll call him, and he'll get hold of him for sure.
Yeah, I think that would be a step in the right direction. What is the legal situation if our easement is blocked by a tree? What is the legal situation? If Lane comes out and says, you can't go over there because it's right here, what do we do?
Well, first things first, you can get by the tree with a mower.
With a mower, but not necessarily a pickup.
I get it, but you can get in and out, and if you move the post, then if there's
Problem
room,
solved.
then you can get in and out. I suspect that even if he hasn't moved the post, if I called him up and said, hey, Leroy, would you just go ahead and move the post? Cause I've gotta talk to him about, cause I'm gonna ask him the exact spot for the,
Yeah.
then I'm guessing he would go ahead because he just forgot or something. That's kinda how I took that. I would
informed.
probably ease into it with the mowing side of it, build a relationship, start that communication over, kind of build back some trust and go from there, kind of a thing, and I don't.
Leroy's telephone number? Is-
Do I? Yes. I
Yeah,
do.
cell phone, I'd like to have that. I'll call him and tell him our intention is to take care of the weeds between the two fences. And I won't talk about the new mower until we get him signed up and on board. Does that sound right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't wanna commit to I watched something on NFL drafts, this is preseason now, but for football fans, we kinda get starved, right? So I watched something on the NFL draft, and they went back to, I don't know, if putting age on myself, I suppose, but when Mike Ditka went to the Saints, he wanted Ricky Williams. And he announced, no matter what, he's gonna get Ricky Williams. So the Saints ended up having to give up their entire draft picks, every draft pick they had for that year, in order to get the first #1 draft pick to draft Ricky Williams, who then didn't want to play for him and went to Miami. And then, that's a whole different story. But my point is, we don't want to commit to something before we have them on paper, before they're
Yeah,
in contract.
well, we're not gonna talk about a new mower until we get one lined up.
Sure.
I think we ought to
See?
just do, I think we ought to just start using the easement. I think we ought to I think we need to change mowers, and I think we need to show him by, not so much telling him that we're gonna do it, but just.
Good faith
He
action.
he just sees us do it.
Do these things, don't necessarily.
Yeah, clear
put
up
it in
that
our
thing.
Facebook.
Don't talk
If you want
about it,
something
let's
done,
just-
if
let's
you
just
go out
do
there
it.
and do it right.
Writing, do it.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Well,
I agree,
first step
Steve.
is to get the mailboxes moved and.
Gonna work towards that.
And I'll pay him if that's, or we will pay him with commission's money. Seems like a reasonable thing since we don't spend it all each year.
I can work on that. I'll have to get with the guys and we'll have to get a plan of attack and get locates and stuff like that.
Okay. You've got my telephone number as well as my cell phone number.
Okay.
Or my email address. Yes, sir.
And you can get dirt in the ditch and a little bit of.
Wasn't doing the dirt. I was under the impression somebody else
Or
was
is
doing the
the
dirt.
city doing that?
Who's gonna do the?
I thought the city was doing it. I don't know, I didn't ever talk about the dirt.
Crane said that he.
There, that
he-
must have been
he told-
it.
Crane told us when we was out there that day,
Yeah.
that he didn't think it needed any culvert in there, he said he just put a little dirt in there, and he said, I got plenty of it down there. Do you remember that, Steve?
It would be much easier if somebody else did
Yeah.
the dirt, that's more of a
Yeah.
far bigger pain for us, even though we have all the dirt in the
Now,
world,
who
it's
is
kind
he
of a pain.
The city will do that.
The city of Danville will do that?
Yeah.
You know the contact person, Steve?
Frayne Wagner.
Wagner, Crane Wagner, okay. So let's
I don't
get
have
that
his
done,
number.
let's start using, let's get the weeds mowed,
I
let's
will,
look at finding a different mower.
I'll get once the signs are done, I will let the entire party know. I sent all those emails to you already.
Okay, good.
So,
That's what I need, more details.
I'll let all the, everybody know that the signs are moved. It won't be this week,
And
probably be next week at the earliest.
I'll get old of Frayne.
Paul, you got anything to add?
I got it.
Steve, you got
Thanks,
anything?
Paul.
to add?
Thanks, Paul.
See you, Paul. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for doing this. I'm not surprised that you found Leroy communicative. I think he is. What we're afraid of is his son in future years.
I told him
What
that.
do we do if he comes out there with a gun and tells us to get off the property?
You get off the property.
Get off property. then-
Well, that'd probably be wise. I think that's your universal
Definitely.
answer.
You get off the property and you contact Trent, and then Trent will handle it with the law enforcement and go from there. I didn't get that to be the feeling. I think you're just not going to see him or he's gonna stand and glare at you.
Well,
I
he
think
stood and
Leroy's.
yelled at Steve and others.
Well, and maybe he will, but I think Leroy, from what I gather, is still very much in charge, and my guess is by now Lade knows that was there to talk to Leroy
I
about.
hope that's true, yes.
And
So,
some
I-
people, they just feel like the county or government or whatever, you know, is just trying to push them around, stuff like that. And I think if they see that we're not trying to push, you know, that that we're given, you know, as well, I think with
Well,
a good faith action, I think.
Trying to
maybe that-
work with them in good faith.
I think, yeah, I think that will help out a lot, I do.
Now, I'd like to say something from our point of view. Leroy planted corn and raised cattle on that cemetery for several years and earned money as farming on land that he did not own. Now, he'll bring up the idea that he paid land taxes on it. He did not. It was excluded. So Leroy benefited from using that land for several years before we took it away from him.
I don't think that's gonna get you anywhere, but I know.
Well, I'm not gonna-
It's good information to know, but.
I'm not gonna
Bring
say
that
that
up.
to Leroy, but I'm telling you here.
I am not shocked, I don't have the entire story.
Yeah, there are other points to it. He was growing corn and raising cattle on the cemetery. I mean,
And
that's
I think
another-
there's other pioneer cemeteries where that's happened also, at least in part, where the boundaries weren't marked and
Yeah.
Well,
things have happened. So I'm not surprised at that, and
Yeah, Leroy actively worked to get that cemetery to where he could farm it though.
yeah.
He moved.
That big Jager stone,
Moved.
well, Dick,
It's, Larry Cady moved that,
Yeah.
helped him move that, and it's out.
Yeah.
And who was in
But I
charge of
mean,
getting it moved? Leroy.
yeah.
He got it moved.
Yeah,
He
Leroy.
worked to get that ground cleared off so he could farm.
I have to say, from what I know of Leroy, it doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, the guy got struck by lightning, but anyway,
Yeah.
boys.
let bygones be bygones, and we just need to move on from here.
Just trying to
Snow
avoid
really
a
belongs to
potential
that
problem in
cemetery
the
where you're at.
future.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
But he had it
belongs
moved.
there, you guys could really go back and get that, but then that's gonna open
Oh,
that can of
no.
worms.
We chose not to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, our LDS gal from Mount Pleasant said that, no, we won't, we'll just leave that there. And so it's out there at Jaeger Cemetery, when it originally was there at Old Danville Cemetery. And that's how we got some of the land, because we have pictures that shows that Jaeger marker in relationship to different buildings. So we know that right there is part of the cemetery land.
Yeah.
And then we went to the aerial photographs that showed us that it was about an acre large. So, there's our side of the story.
I think we got a good plan moving forward, and,
Thank you, Brian.
last time
Yeah,
we'll
no
be
problem,
chatting
Steve.
on this, but.
Yeah.
I'll set about getting the mailboxes done. I'll
Okay.
get with my sign guy and stuff, and he is active in the state fair, so I have to sit here and tell you that I don't know when he's gone for the state fair, but that's gonna start up here shortly, and I don't know that we have locates, that we will have locates done before he leaves for state fair, so don't be surprised if it takes a little bit to get that done,
It's okay, it's been
so.
long now. Trent, do you have anything that you need to say about legally that where we're at?
No, I think this is all good. I mean, you know, getting it made, established, so we're using our actual easement is important. Anything physically, any physical demarcations does make it easier if Lade tries to fight down the road to say, well, no, it's here, there, whatever, but the, you know, the reality is using it, and we are, you know, by getting utilities moved, by getting the mailbox moved, and putting dirt in there and starting to use that as an actual access right away, we are establishing it, so that will do it. Could we do more? Yes, I mean, if we had barricades and guys with machine guns, it'd be more definite, right? But we're not going that far.
Well, the only part that I'm left
So-
worried about is Lade and the tree.
And I don't think
tree-
it can be, any of that can be 100%.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to go forward, hope for the best.
The tree gets weird in that we have the legal authority to clear it. The longer we go, and especially as we start to use it and not take down the tree, if say 10 years down the road, there's an issue, and we're like, okay, then we need to take down the tree, and they go to the courts and file them for injunctive relief to stop us. The courts might say, hey, you've had this easement for 20 years and not needed to tear down the tree, cut down the tree, whatever. And now you're saying you have to, and they might say, why? Show us why there's this new need. And it doesn't mean that it won't be, but the longer it goes that we're not tearing down the tree, the more likely they are to be able to stop us from, or chopping down the tree, to stop us from chopping down the cherry tree, so to speak.
Because we've been violating our easement, we've been driving on his land that's not part of our easement.
Right, I mean, but at that point, you get into this super factual, specific question, and the reality is, we don't wanna have to tear down the tree, and I think that bodes in our favor, say, if we're actually, to the extent we can, and we can access it, we're trying to respect the fact that it's a tree of a certain age, site, health, that's
Value.
just hard to replace, yeah.
Value.
One, and then we're also recognizing the intrinsic value that it was planted by his deceased parent, and I think that we show that we recognize that if it gets to the point to where for some reason we have no choice, then we can make that, and the courts would be more understanding that we're not just going in there and being, what's that from the Lorax?
In the Lorax and the NFL.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
on a roll today, man.
Yeah.
Trent's doing that thing,
Right,
man.
you're doing a little meatloaf action here.
Mr.
There
Carey?
we go, there we go. But you know, the guy that just goes, the one that goes and chops down all the
Jim.
trees.
How can we communicate to the city of Danville that we're ready for the dirt?
All you gotta do is try and communicate with me when that mailbox is removed. I'll tell Fran and he'll,
Okay, so,
matter of fact, I'm gonna get a hold of Fran this afternoon or tomorrow morning.
okay, mention that we're getting the mailboxes moved and that the dirt can be brought in, as soon as they're moved. But it may be after the state fair that they get moved.
Possibly, I'll just have to go back and see what everybody's schedule is.
Okay.
I'll bet you guys don't wanna have another work session on Old Danville.
Hey, man, and you gotta do what you gotta do to get it done, so we're gonna make sure we get
Next
it
time we
done.
wanna see is in January, budget time.
Okay.
Do you want us to ask for more money?
With
We've had-
pictures.
How about maps? We like maps.
Well, maps, as long as you got some pictures.
Yeah.
Hey, I know this is a
Yeah.
complicated situation, but, we do appreciate, all the stuff you guys are doing.
It's got quite a history. I mean, this is, there's parts to it that, I'm surprised the horse getting out wasn't mentioned, but, he didn't get to that, but,
The horse was mentioned. I don't believe it was mentioned along those lines, but it was a wide-ranging hour-and-a-half conversation, and I'm sure that I'm not doing it full service.
You're lucky the horse didn't get hit while it was out.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh.
I do know we discussed the horse getting put down, and I wanna say maybe he updated that fence because of concerns about the horse being able to get out and into the cemetery or something like that. And so that might be the hard feelings about the fence, is that he, at some point in the past, updated the fence and to be in good condition or something. I don't remember. There was a lot of stuff discussed, and
I
I'm
think
sure.
I can establish enough communication that maybe
Yep.
I can hear from Leroy about,
Yep.
particularly if I can get a new mower and get that started.
I'm sure if he gets along with the mower guy, the mower guy just goes up and shakes his hand and says, hey, I'm gonna come in and mow, and that's tight to get by that post, you mind if that shifts over about a foot so I can get my trailer by and all that sort of stuff. My guess is that'll all work.
I think if he has already got a little bit of relationship with this guy,
Yeah.
he'd be a better mower than, Mr. Doss is a very valuable asset to us and does a very good job, but
Not very user-friendly.
Some places are sensitive.
I just don't think he's much of a politician.
Well, that's okay, so he probably needs to mow something where there aren't people right there.
Yeah, some places are a little bit more
Yeah,
sensitive.
he's doing a good job, we'll,
Yeah, nothing against him, it's just you might,
No, he's a good guy. He's a
switching
good
mowers
guy.
may not change anything. I don't think it
Well, I
guarantees
think
anything,
it'll
but it doesn't
help.
hurt the cause.
I think it'll help.
We're gonna find out, boys. We
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
find out.
We will find out,
Gentlemen.
we'll see you in, January.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's.
we'll keep in contact with you. when the
Okay, and we'll
mailbox is
contact,
ready.
the Danville City for the, filter. I appreciate you doing that, thank you for everything you've done.
Frank told me that they would fill that in. I'm gonna hold him to it.
Yes, thank you.
If anything
And
pops
he
up in this
will,
process, email the board, make sure you keep us up to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speed.
Thanks, thank you very much, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks,
And
sir.
thanks, Mr. Carter, very much.
Yeah, no problem,
Maybe
hopefully
we'll
this
see
helps
you
you
up
guys
in
out.
Apron Street
Well,
again, Steve.
it was
Yeah,
valuable
if you're there the right day, you will.
It was needed.
You go up there often, do you?
Oh, once a week probably.
Yeah.
I